In this video, we are going to talk about 5 ways you create highs and lows in your life and relationships as a fearful avoidant. I am Paulina and I am so happy you are here because the high and low dynamic or pattern is a very common one in the fearful avoidant attachment style. And you might be able to recognize it in your relationships, kinda, sorta, but probably it comes back in different areas of your life. And for me, this was such a motivation to heal the fearful avoidant attachment style because I was just so done. I was so done. I was so tired. I was so exhausted of a lot of things, but also specifically this high and low dynamic. So the first one definitely is a relationship one, which is picking fights when things are good. So what lies underneath this is that fearful avoidants that haven't healed yet have a very hard time allowing things to just be good and be stable. There's a lot of reasons for that. I could make a whole video on that. If you want that, let me know in the comments below. But it has definitely to do with the fact that your body is just not used to this calm and stable feeling. It is almost addicted to the highs and lows because of the hormonal cocktail that gets released when you have those highs and lows. So when you are in a place in your relationship or you have a relationship that is just good, that's kind of easy actually, that's healthy, that's safe, it can be almost a trigger for you and your fear brain to say, wait, hold up, what's going on? This is unfamiliar and therefore doesn't feel safe because we don't know it. And so before you know it, out of nowhere, you start picking fights, even when you really don't want to, because a part of you is actually really happy that now you have this safe and healthy relationship. Another part is freaking out because it kind of needs that high and low dynamic because that's all it knows and therefore it feels safe. Isn't that weird? There's such a contradiction in that. So picking fights when things are good, or pushing somebody away when things are good, or starting to have doubts in your own head. You don't even really have to pick fights with your partner, go outwards. It can be inside of yourself too. So you're sitting on the couch and everything is going well, and it might even be that you have the audacity to think to yourself, oh, I'm really enjoying this moment, or I really love being with this person. And then your fear brain is like, nope, wait, you don't like this, you don't like that, you don't like this, what about this? Is this gonna be okay? Are you sure about this? And before you know it, you're completely shut off, deactivated, not really being able to connect or even just talk to your partner. And that is also a way to kind of create distance, but also highs and lows, because your partner will pick up on that and then you have to talk about it. And there's a lot of chaos and turmoil going on inside of you. But yeah, if you really have this tendency to create highs and lows, usually you will try to kind of pick a fight. You might not even see it as a fight. You might just communicate what you're not happy with. But yeah, it's creating that dynamic of highs and lows, where you create a low so that you have to kind of make up to your partner to get their approval again, and that creates a high, and then you do something again to kind of create distance or create a fight, create drama, create chaos, and then that cycle just repeats itself. So that's one example in relationships. Then another one that I realized way later on is that I was struggling in life in general to the point of not even really being able to function, to the point where when I would be thinking about the future, I thought, how am I gonna do that? How am I gonna have children? How am I gonna have a 9-to-5 job? I cannot do that. I won't be able to just live life as a normal person. And I realized at some point that was actually also to create highs and lows. I just couldn't accept everything being quite easy, actually, as I experience it now. that just didn't feel safe. And so I made myself struggle. And then sometimes I would kind of get out of that and feel very strong, feel like I could take on the world. I would do a lot of work or do a lot of things in a very short amount of time. And then I think the realization kind of came, not being very conscious of it, that wait, maybe if I can do this, I have to do this always. Like I always have to perform at my absolute best. And then I would kind of feel ashamed of not being able to do that, or I would be super afraid of making mistakes, and then I would fall back and make myself struggle again. And I never really allowed myself to get out of that struggle or hustle, or are there any other words for that? Fighting also kind of mentality, where I just felt like I always had to fight and struggle to survive, to have this life. And looking back, it definitely was the high and low mentality. And because if I would just have allowed myself to feel safe and allow myself stability, I would not have to struggle like that. Then the third one is spending all your money. And this might seem like a crazy one. The fearful avoidant attachment style comes back in can come back. It's not always the case, but it can come back in all areas of your life, and definitely also with money. There are very specific patterns that also come back in how you deal with money, your relationship with money. I've heard this from a lot of fearful avoidants. So what could happen to create those highs and lows is that when you have money, you just spend it all, because a part of you is kind of addicted to the thrill of having to fight to get the money back and be able to live. So it's kind of addicted to the thrill of, this sounds crazy, I know, please stay with me, to not having that security of having a financial buffer. And like I said, I've heard this from so many people where the pattern with money would be that they would have money and then they would lose it all or spend it all, or all of a sudden everything would be gone again, and then they would have money again and then they would lose it again. And I had that pattern for years also when I started being an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur now for 8 years. I don't like that word entrepreneur, kind of sounds cold, or I don't know. But in the beginning years, I definitely had this pattern, and all of a sudden there was this light bulb moment, and I was like, wait a minute, I am not allowing myself safety and stability here. And so I healed that. And the moment I healed that, I got that stability and just growth and financial buffers. And it is such a weird thing how what is going on inside you is creating your world, really, because you just won't allow anything else to happen. So I would find things that I needed to spend money on, even though I didn't really need to spend money on them. Every time it would just be something else. But when something is such a pattern, there's something underlying that. And the thing underlying that is a lot of times the attachment style that you have, even when it comes to things like money. So the fourth one is being controversial. And this also, it can be in a lot of different areas, but a lot of fearful avoidants feel like they have to speak their truth and they have to speak out for what they believe in. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you to shush and be pretty. Please do speak whatever is on your mind, but it can be that a component of this is that you kind of, a part of you kind of enjoys the way other people might react to it. And that can create emotional turmoil. People could get angry. And even though you're very afraid of people being angry, there's a part of you that's also very familiar with that, so might create it. And so I know quite some people who had the fearful avoidant attachment style and healed it, and then just realized that they still believed in the same things, mostly, but they didn't feel like they had to um, mention it in the same way or in the same moments that they used to. And so what they did was way more constructive and productive, what they did about it. So being controversial can definitely be a way of creating highs and lows, because you create unrest. You can create unrest and chaos and drama. And again, I'm not saying that that's wrong or you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't want that. But what I've always wanted, as soon as I started realizing all these patterns and how much my attachment style was influencing so many areas of my life, is that I want to live as purely as possible. And with that, I mean that I just want to be myself with as little limiting beliefs or blocks possible, so that the connection that I feel with people is the most genuine and is the most pure. And also in my business, I can be the most genuine, I can be the most pure, because every time you have limiting beliefs or you have these fears or negative associations that come with the fearful avoidant attachment style, it kind of blurs the line. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but it influences what you say, how you say it, how you connect, how you don't connect, how you show up, how you don't show up. And I was, and kind of still am, on a mission to just release and heal as much as I can to be able to show up and connect in the purest way possible, if that's making sense. So that, for just to be very clear, that doesn't mean that I never say anything to upset anyone. I think I'm even more truthful, but I'm not doing it to upset anyone. I'm just doing it to be me completely and fully, if that makes sense. So the fifth one, the last one, is quitting your job. I've heard this story from many fearful avoidants who finally have a stable job, a job they like, maybe a job they even worked really hard to get. They went through years of training or education to be able to do that. And then the moment they kind of hit that stable spot, that plateau, where you just earn quite a good income, and you are valued for what you know and what you do, that's the moment where you start either doubting whether this is really what you want to do. It could be that all of a sudden you find yourself having fights with your colleagues or with your boss, or there is just drama or chaos in whatever way. And that could lead to you just quitting your job out of nowhere without having any security net or any financial buffer. So that's another way that you kind of create those highs and lows, where you create the drama and the chaos, because that's just what your body knows. It's what is familiar to your body, to your fear brain. It's almost like your fear brain is saying, well, this is what you're trained for, so this is the feeling and this is the situation that we are going to recreate again and again and again, because now you have to fight, now you have to prove your worth, now you have to hustle, now you have to struggle. And in a way that kind of feels safe, because it feels familiar and it feels like, well, the situation sucks, but at least I kind of know what to do. When you heal the fearful avoidant attachment style, you will see that you will allow yourself to be so much more at peace, calm, and allow yourself safety, because all the things I just mentioned, you are kind of leaning towards wanting to feel unsafe because that feels familiar and therefore safe. It is a mind twist, I know. But the moment you allow more safety and stability is the moment that you will allow yourself to just be really good at your job, make a lot of money so that you have a lot of security in that sense too, and just build that stability and build that security for longer than just a day-to-day. A lot of fearful avoidants are living paycheck to paycheck, because that in itself is kind of like a highs and lows roller coaster, right? And also in relationships, you allow yourself to just have a good relationship where for periods of time there's just not a lot going on. It's just you're you, they are them, and you are enjoying being together, but there's not like high peaks or very low lows. It's just there's this richness, this beautiful warmth that is present constantly. And that is so what I wish for you, because a part of you believes that the highs and lows is giving you something that stability won't give you, and yet it is taking much more that it is giving you. And that richness and warmth is, it's very hard to explain. It's very hard to feel when you're only used to highs and lows and to drama and chaos. So just know that when you heal, you won't miss that. You won't miss that. It's it feels good to feel stability, to feel safety, because that's freedom, and you get to do whatever you want, and life is still exciting, and it just becomes more and more and more exciting. So if you want to heal the fearful avoidant attachment style, if you want to break this pattern, if you are as tired as I was with this pattern just reoccurring again and again, find the link in the description below to my online program, Healed and Happy, where we go to the roots of the fearful avoidant attachment style. We actually heal this specific dynamic because it's such a core dynamic of the fearful avoidant attachment style. And just see how much freedom it will give you. I can't wait. I can't wait to see it with you, because every single time I get a story back about, you know, allowing stability and allowing security and safety, there's just so much freedom in that, and I love that. That's what I want for you. As always, I am curious to see what you got out of this video, whether this was new to you. Maybe you've noticed it in your relationships, but not necessarily in other areas of your life. Maybe you have another part of your life or another situation where you notice this pattern of highs and lows. Please put it in the comments below, because in that way we help each other. I am so happy you are here, and I will see you in the next one.